In 2013, a short true story appeared in Time. A story titled "Stranger Pays for Struggling Single Mom's Dinner." It wasn't a dramatic headline. It wasn't long or complicated. But it stayed with people because of how quietly human it was. And that story begins on an ordinary evening with a mother and her two young children. She had been working all day, balancing her job, her home, and raising two kids alone. It had become her normal. The kind of tiredness that didn't show on her face, but stayed in her shoulders, in her breath, in the way she held her bag a little too tightly. As they stepped out of the grocery store that evening, her youngest tugged gently at her sleeve. "Mom, can we eat out today?" It wasn't a big request. Just a small wish. A tiny spark from a child who wanted to make the day feel a little different. She looked at her children, one holding a plastic bag with both hands, the other skipping softly beside her, and she felt something loosen inside her chest. "Okay," she said quietly. "Let's eat out today." They walked toward a small family restaurant. Not busy, not loud. Just warm. They sat by the window and the children immediately began talking over each other. "Mom, I got picked to lead the line today." "Mom, teacher said I read really well today." Their voices rose and fell like tiny waves. And for the first time that day, the mother felt her shoulders relax. Soup arrived. Warm plates followed, sending up thin ribbons of steam. The children's eyes widened with joy. It was such a simple moment. But sometimes simple moments are the ones we remember most. At a table across the restaurant, a man sat alone. A quiet presence. No expressions that stood out, no gestures that drew attention. But now and then his eyes drifted toward the small family by the window. Not out of curiosity. Not out of pity. Just a gentle kind of observing, as though something about that little family softened something inside him. He watched the children laugh, watched the mother listen, watched the tiredness on her face slowly melt into a soft, warm smile. And somewhere inside him a small decision formed. When the mother finished eating, she reached into her purse, ready to pay. But before she could step forward, the staff member approached her with a quiet smile. "Ma'am, your bill has already been taken care of." She blinked. "What?" The staff held out a receipt and a small folded note. "A gentleman who was sitting over there paid for your meal and left this for you." The mother slowly unfolded the note. It wasn't long. But it took her breath in ways she didn't expect. "Read, I have watched you teach your children about the importance of respect, education, proper manners, communication, self-control, and kindness. Keep up the good work." Jake, that was it. A few simple lines. But in those lines someone had seen her. Not the tiredness. Not the struggle. But the effort. The love. The quiet strength she didn't know anyone noticed. She read it once. Then again. And again. She turned to look toward the man's table. But he was already gone. No name. No reason. No chance to say thank you. Just a quiet kindness left behind like a small light. Outside the air felt cooler. Her children each held one of her hands as they walked home. "Mom, who paid for our dinner?" one of them asked. She smiled softly. "Someone kind," she whispered. "That's all we need to know." That night, something in her heart shifted. Not dramatically. Not suddenly. Just enough for her to breathe a little deeper. A few days later, she found herself reaching into her purse and taking out the note again. The edges were slightly worn from how many times she had opened it. She read it slowly, letting every word settle. And somehow, it was even warmer now. Her children began showing small changes too. Sharing a little faster, helping each other without being told, offering small kindnesses here and there. Kindness does that. It spreads without asking permission. She never met the man again. Never learned who he was or why he chose to help that night. But she kept the note. Not because she needed proof. Not because she needed to remember the moment. But because it reminded her that she was doing her best and that her best was enough. Years later, she could still recall the warm light in that small restaurant, the soft voices of her children, and a stranger's handwriting telling her she was doing a good job. Kindness doesn't need a name, doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't even need to last long. Sometimes it's one quiet moment that stays with you forever. And as you listen to this tonight, I hope this story leaves a gentle warmth in your heart too. A reminder that somewhere, someone is carrying kindness quietly. Just waiting to share it when you least expect it.